I cut my teeth on bluegrass with all the old timers, like a traditional Everett's, this place called Everett's Pickin' Barn up in Suwanee, Georgia. We're getting bigger shows. We just announced E-Town, which is Nick Forrester from Hot Rise's venue here in Boulder, and walk right out the door and go on a hike up the mountain and just get a little bit of peace without even having to drive somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like out there talking to everybody, kissing babies. I'm not like trying to get elected for any of office. Things kind of organically work out. I don't really rush into anything. You know, I try not to. You ever looked out the window and seen how they're throwing the cases on the luggage? It's a different scene out here in Colorado. This bluegrass music scene, I don't know if there's a better, more thriving scene as far as performance goes, you know?
How you doing?
Good. How you doing? Nice to meet you.
Likewise, man. Likewise. Like I said, I dig the backdrop, new album in the
Any
background,
more light on you?
Yes.
and you've got a studio hand there. I dig it.
Yes. Yes.
So, what's
Any
going
more
on here
little?
on this
No.
fine Thursday afternoon or Thursday morning for you, I suppose?
Oh, I've got the day off. I'm probably, going to work on some. I got many songs I'm working on, trying to finish at least one of them. And then I do a whole bunch of promoting for my shows that I have coming up, and might go for a little hike. It's a nice day.
You mean it's not a winter wonderland outside for you?
No, not at all.
I'm up in Wisconsin, and today's the one day. Of course, I had some dinner plans tonight, so those are going to be canceled because they were kind of far away. But it's snowing quite a bit. It looks every bit of December 20th or 19th or whatever it is today. So that's what I'm working with. No hikes for me
Nice.
today.
Yeah, it was really windy last night. We got over 100-mile-an-hour winds here.
Breezy. They call that breezy there,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right?
So you're not in Colorado?
No,
Oh, cool.
as we kind of spoke before this, and I had been in Colorado for a number of years.
That's right.
I think what kind of prompted the whole conversation was a common thread in Mile High Spirits. I saw that you guys had played, and
Oh, yeah.
I used to book the room. Probably started in like 2016 or 17. I don't know,
Hmm.
something like that. And the first order of business for me there was I installed that Bloodies and Bluegrass, which is what you guys I think were playing that day,
Yeah.
in that in the video that I saw. So um, that was a ton of fun, and I'm glad to have been a part of that or to kind of kicked it off. So is that a thing that's still going on there?
Yeah, I think we just played there like 3 weeks ago, and there was like a jam before us, and then we did get a lot of people in there, and then it wasn't High Lonesome. It was me, Dylan, our dobro player, and Neva.
Okay,
Uh, and then after that, we went and ate some really good Thai food around the corner. It was like a really good Thai restaurant.
excellent.
So that was awesome. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll be back there January the 11th with David Tiller and Neva Wilder
great,
next time.
great. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting room. By all accounts, it's super cool. Great,
Hmm.
so anyone who doesn't know and who might not be in Denver or Colorado in general, but very cool distillery, very a great stage and production, all the
Hmm.
things. But then it kind of doubles from like a it's live music venue with bluegrass and funk music and rock bands and stuff like that with its club vibe that it garners on the weekend. So it can be present a little bit of a challenge to get the mixed crowds in there, but it's definitely a place worth checking out and fun room to play.
Yeah, yeah. It is a little weird when a venue tries to has like a identity crisis, doesn't really know what they're but it works. I don't feel like it works sometimes if like all the bands are like 80s hair band tribute tribute bands, and then they want like a hippie band to play there. It's kind of I need that built-in crowd to be a part of the mass turnout. You know what I'm saying? I like
Yeah,
it. It's a nice little bumper crop, you know. And if
exactly.
everybody's used to going and seeing Quiet Riot tribute band, then they're not going to want to come see High Lonesome, and that's fine. I mean, that's I've gotten to the point where if you don't like bluegrass or the Grateful Dead or the Beatles, that's fine. You know, like I remember I was working on a movie, I don't know, 3, 4 years ago with somebody, and because I used to work in film, and he was saying that he hated the Beatles, and like my brain just exploded. You know, I was like, that's crazy, and I was upset by it. You know, and then I just had to kind of examine that. You know, because not everything's for everybody. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean all too well. I had a boss and kind of, also a friend, but he's same type of guy. Hates the Beatles, and I get what you mean. You have to like examine that. I don't understand it to this day.
Hmm.
Some people who say that I feel like are just trying to be rebels. Others are probably quite sincere, but
Yeah.
it's dumbfounding to me. So anyway, myself included, in people who might not be completely familiar with or at all familiar with High Lonesome, tell us a little bit about yourselves, about the band, how long you've been together, what's been going on for you, where you headed. There's a
Okay.
bunch of questions to unpack.
Well, right now we're headed back into the studio because this record that we've released is like, we released it November 1st and we were done recording it in June. So I think we're ready to move on and get some more stuff going. And but that being said, when you release a record, it's just so many layers to it. You know, you're trying to get it the plays on all the platforms. You're trying to get it out, for radio play. So it's like it doesn't give you a lot of space to write music. You know, like it's not. It's kind of like songwriter. Well, my version of songwriting isn't. I'm going to write songs every day. I'm going to have a certain time of year where, especially the winter time when it's cold outside, and I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to the cold, so I'll stay inside and I'll create, Um, I wish I was the kind of person that wrote songs every day, but it's just I don't have time to do it because like there's so many different layers to just getting the band in front of the right people so we can get the right opportunities. And we're getting bigger shows. We just announced E-Town, which is Nick Forrester from Hot Rise's venue here in Boulder, and it's a really fun gig. And we're playing the biggest theater we've ever played in February in Denver, Ophelia's Electric Soapbox. Um, so yeah, I mean, and we're also playing a big festival, opening up for a much bigger band than us, and we don't really get a lot of opportunities to open for a lot of bands because, um, because we are, we're basically headlining our own smaller shows. But honestly, like I would love to open up for some of the bands that are a little bit bigger than us. You know what I'm saying? We'd be into doing that. You know, we just never. It's just some bands get a certain. It's you don't. Not everybody gets there the same way, and we're kind of working really hard and just building our own little following here on the Front Range. And we may never play Telluride or Merle Fest or anything like that, but we're experiencing like our version of success, which is awesome, So, um, but yeah, we're like within a half a mile of Planet Bluegrass here in Lyons, Colorado. So this neighborhood that I live in is just there's so many musicians that are in big bands just around the corner, So that's a nice thing too. And also we're in a small town where it's not really busy, and it's you can go just walk right out the door and go on a hike up the mountain and just get a little bit of peace without even having to drive somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Which is nice. Um, but where we came from Atlanta. I had more of a traditional band back home because I really couldn't build a progressive bluegrass band in North Georgia because all the players were so traditional there. But I had a lot of fun playing there for many years. As a kid, I grew up in New York City, but I was exposed to country music and bluegrass music up there. But I've last 35 years of my life, before I moved here, I lived in North Georgia. So I cut my teeth on bluegrass with all the old timers, like a traditional Everett's, this place called Everett's Pick and Barn up in Suwanee, Georgia.
Sure.
So that's where I really learned bluegrass from, my early 20s until I moved from there. That was the main influence, was that area's bluegrass music. And um, so that's kind of what I'm used to. It's a different scene out here in Colorado. It's like the jam scene's different because people are in smaller jams back east. Like like you go to a jam, there's maybe 10 jams happening. Whereas here, it's just like one big jam. You know what I'm saying? So it's a totally different vibe out here, which is cool. I like it. It's refreshing, and the scene is very supportive. It's really hard to even get anywhere in a big city to even get to a gig, because of traffic. Here, the traffic's not really that bad. It's only bad once in a while, and for the most part, you can get to the gig. You can. It's really amazing. Like this bluegrass music scene. I don't know if there's a better, more thriving scene as far as performance goes.
I would
Like
tend to agree with you on that.
yeah, like we played Chautauqua a month ago, and we were not too worried about it, but there was like 4 or 5 bluegrass things happening within 40 miles, and everything sold out. So um, there's enough for everybody. Um, Certainly, you don't want to go up against somebody like against the Mission, where there's like thousands of seats and everyone's going to be there. But you know, for the most part, that's not the case. And there might be a Billy Failing here or Andy Thorne there, and these people there, and everybody sells out. And it's just awesome. Also, being a Leftover Salmon fan for 31 years since I first saw them. Now I can see them at the Boulder Theater, like a couple times a year, which is awesome, and see them around town. So I've been getting to see my favorite band of all time a lot more. Um,
Well, and that's a nice little segue that you brought them up, because I noticed you were named by Westword Magazine as one of the top 10 bluegrass bands in Colorado, which
mhm.
in and of itself is a high honor, but especially when you're up against, I don't want to say up against, but included in that list
Yes.
is Leftover Salmon, are the String Dusters, was what Cheese, and Yonder, I think, is in there too. So for you guys to be even among that, that's fucking awesome, and congrats to you.
Thank you very much.
But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the Dusters are like probably as far as bluegrass goes and Colorado bands, them and Hot Rise. I kind of consider Leftover more just like them. They're just so awesome. They're like their own thing. You know what I mean? They're like so unique. I remember when they used to call themselves polyethnic slamgrass. Have you ever heard them call themselves that?
I read it in that article.
Yeah.
And yes, I've heard it.
But I've seen I probably seen the Dusters 60 times in my life as a fan, because I'm a huge music fan. And I don't think I've seen them make like two mistakes. You know what I mean? They're just like impeccable. And I love that they're putting out all these bluegrass albums with all these classic traditional bluegrass songs. I think that's really cool. But yeah, I think right now we would love to open up for people like the Dusters or the Leftover Salmon or Yonder Mountain. Um, and it is a big honor to be mentioned with those bands. There's a lot of bluegrass bands in Colorado, and it is an honor to be um, mentioned like that.
So has High Lonesome gotten, have you done much touring outside of the state, outside of Colorado?
Yeah, actually, we went on like a little Midwestern tour. I don't know, like 5 or 6 months ago, maybe a little bit, maybe yeah, about that long ago, about half a year ago, and that went really well. Um, and then we just went to San Diego and played for the California Bluegrass Association. We played their South State 48 Festival, and we're going to start touring on the West Coast, going up the coast. But I will say this: there's so many opportunities here in Colorado with all the towns, all the resorts, everything. It's like by the time, like we're already booking a lot of stuff for next year here, all over the Front Range and on the Western Slope. So getting out east, we want to do it. We want to go to IBMA next year. We want to join IBMA and be a part of that scene. And we want to do some shows out there. It's just, I think our main focus this year is to record another record, um, keep crushing it here as much as we can, and building our following here. And if we get an opportunity that we can afford to take, because just going out east for a few shows, I mean, that could break us, because like the margins are pretty thin, and until we get to a certain point, this band, this bands really don't make money until they're out there playing big shows, so it's real risky just to take one opportunity, that may look great if it was local, but if it's 6,000 miles away, and now it's so hard to travel, not to mention just traveling with that upright bass. So, like, if we can get the right opportunity, we will definitely take it on the East Coast.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. Can I ask who and where were you in the Midwest? Because again, that's where I'm at, and I
Oh,
know,
cool.
yeah, a handful of bands and such.
All right. Well, my wife, she's from Ashland, so right up there near Lake Superior, like on, um, you know where Ashland is?
Yeah.
Ashland, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I've been going on like a little tour up there as like a songwriter for years, but we didn't make it to Wisconsin this year, although we wanted to. We went to Iowa, we did Lincoln, Nebraska, we did um, Lawrence, Kansas. So we did, and then we played like a wedding in Iowa as well. So we played 4 shows, and it was a lot of fun. Um, and I'm actually writing a song about an experience that we had there that was just really funny. We stayed with like a host that we didn't know, and it was a little awkward, but it was fine. But it's gonna be. I think it's kind of like an inside joke with the band. I don't think anybody's gonna really know what the song's about, but
Those are the best.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we had a good time, and there are some opportunities, and if there's a talent buyer out there that's looking for a Colorado bluegrass to come out there, then just check us out and see what we're about. And if you're into it, get in touch with us.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone who might be listening, by all means, links will be down below and all that kind of good stuff. But I might have a private conversation off camera with some people that I know up here. So,
Cool.
um, yeah. So I guess Colorado is a unique place for sure.
Hmm.
Supportive. I can't get over how supportive the community is out there. Um,
Yes.
Initially, when I was coming to Colorado from Milwaukee back in like 2010, I always thought maybe not the entire Midwest, but the Milwaukee in greater Milwaukee area, Chicago, everything seemed to be real competitive. Bands, I don't want to say at each other's throat or anything like that, but it just seemed kind of cutthroat and competitive. Whereas as soon as I got to Colorado, the first thing I noticed is how collaborative it was and how supportive it was.
Hmm.
Um, so that's awesome. But then, this with bluegrass in particular, there is kind of its own sound, its own little niche that is very uniquely Colorado because it sounds very different than, Appalachian bluegrass or
Sure.
even Midwest. So, um, yeah, I mean, as supportive as the community is, I can still sense that there's very friendly, but competition nonetheless. Like you said, it's great that shows are still selling out, but it can be tough to, you know, rise above
Well,
and
yeah.
get your name out there and get heard a lot.
Yeah, I think, well, when it comes to musicians like myself, you know, I'm not like out there talking to everybody, kissing babies. I'm not like trying to get elected for any of office, and I'm also not out there working with a whole bunch of people. So, like in an office where I'm used to, dealing with a lot of people. So I don't think musicians, uh, most musicians just aren't. I wouldn't say we're antisocial. I just say we kind of keep to ourselves and we do our own thing. And like, for the most part, I'm a homebody. I go out and play shows and stuff, but for the most part, I'm at home enjoying, and writing music or enjoying or practicing all day, basically. Um, so I don't know. It's about being competitive. I just think that people are just so socially awkward, like, um, and some people in the community are really good at bringing people together, and some people just, a lot of people just want to be left alone, doing our own thing. Just like any other trade, like a bunch of dentists don't want to hang out together and talk about working on teeth. They just want to go home and listen to their records and
Do you
hang
know
out
a
with
lot
their
of
family.
dentists? Can you confirm that? Do you know a lot of
No,
dentists?
I'm just saying, it's just like everything else. We're just like everybody else, musicians. I think we're just a little bit more probably private and a little bit more because you get on stage and you're like acting all the time, then you have to decompress. So um, that's why I pretty much pick with the band. I pretty much play all my music with the band, and I really don't have time to go to like any bluegrass jams or anything like that like I used to. But one thing I am very grateful for is going to all those jams for all those years because I learned basically how to do what I'm doing now for free. You know what I'm saying? And I had a lot of fun all those years. So there's a lot of value in bluegrass jams and in those bluegrass jam communities.
So is that it all how High Lonesome got together? What's like that origin story? Was it people coming
Well,
together, from jams, or was it more personal, friends?
I had a band like that once, actually, when I was in my 20s. I'm almost 50 now. Um, and it was called the Barn Rats. And we actually went to Everett's Barn. And I don't know if there's like a painting on the wall of the band, but this is a band I had in North Georgia. And it was all people that I met at Everett's Barn. And it turned out to be like, honestly, the best band I'll probably, one of the best bands I've ever been in my life. I mean, they were incredible. Um, this band, ooh, everything kind of happened by, chance, because I don't go to a lot of jams and, I'll hire, I start working with somebody and maybe they know somebody and, or I need a position to fill for a gig and then I start working with that person and, things kind of organically work out. I don't really rush into anything. I try not to
Yeah.
when it comes to music because you don't ever really know how it's going to shake out unless work with someone for a little while. But right now we're working with a band that we have together. Dylan Cobra and Dobro, in my opinion, one of the best musicians in Colorado. Period. He teaches jazz at CU Denver on guitar, and he's just an incredible dobro player. We got Neva, who is just great fiddle player, great voice, great songwriter, and a really solid bass player. So, and also David Tiller has now been playing mandolin for us since Josh Bergman moved to Ojai, California. And also we have, I don't know, do you know who Chris Elliott is?
The actor?
C-Bob? No, C-Bob, the banjo player.
I don't
We
know.
have we have a banjo player that plays a lot with us. His name is C-Bob, and he's just incredible. So one thing that really works with me is as long as like I get along with the person and they're they push me musically and they're fun to be around and that's hard to curate. That's hard to really put together. It's a lot to ask. But right now this band is like that. We're a lot of really sweet people and things seem to be working out really good. We're having a lot of fun. I'm really excited about 2025, but I moved here during COVID in 2020. So it took me like 2 or 3 years. Well, it took me about 2 years to put this together. Um, and I did. I mean, so I'm really. It's really amazing because no one knew who I was 4 years ago, and I'm playing E Town now with High Lonesome, and that's I'm kind of surprised myself. That's because the scene is so great here. And like I said, I think being able to drive places and go places because the traffic's not so bad is a game changer, and also just people seem, I don't know, just see people seem to value music differently than other towns. Like, for example, Nashville, you can't, they don't even pay bands. It's almost like you have to pay to play in Nashville, where it's just totally different here, so different towns or just think about music performance differently. I think Atlanta is like, unless you're a pop star or you're huge, because buyers and promoters, they want to make a lot of money because it's expensive there. I mean, it's the East Coast, and so there's 8 million people there. Real estate's so expensive. I don't know, but just being able to drive to a gig and go places and not have to sit in traffic for 2.5 hours each way is a game changer.
I can tell this is a big deal for you.
Oh, it's yeah. Traffic was terrible in Atlanta. I mean, you're in what part of Wisconsin are you in?
Just outside of Milwaukee, southeast.
Okay, so the traffic's probably not that bad there, right?
Not too bad. Not at all.
Yeah, I used to sit in like 3 hours of traffic every day at least when I worked, in film when I worked in Atlanta. Uh, I'm just so happy. I might spend that much time every year here in traffic. I might. So
So rewind a little bit. I heard you mention you were kind of going through the band members, and you called them whatever, to paraphrase, sweet people, really nice, sweet. You know what? That comes across to me in the music. There's all sorts of different routes bluegrass can take.
mhm.
Recently, we had, I don't know if you guys know Armchair Boogie out of Wisconsin, actually.
Sure, those guys are
Um,
huge. Yeah,
yeah,
they're.
they're starting to blow up, which is great.
Mhm.
Real high energy stuff, but they've got a unique sound. Appalachia, like I said, kind of has a sound. Colorado, I mean, they're all different, whatever. But you guys do um, kind of have that a sweetness, a sweet quality to the music, which I find really refreshing. Some of it's, and I like it all. It's not like one's better than the other or whatever, but some of it's a little more aggressive. Some of it's a little more tripped out. You guys have a real sweet quality to you.
Yeah, thank you. I
And
don't feel. I feel like that album. All the songs are different from each other. They're all. There's like one pretty. There's a lament in there, with Savage Sundown. The rest of them are pretty. I feel like optimistic. Like they're not a downer. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think everybody has something different to add. Like I'm older, so like the older fans are like, we got some skin in the game. We have a female singer, so that's cool. I think it's important for bands to have girls in them. Who knows? Maybe we'll have another one in our band someday too. Maybe we'll have two. Um, yeah, so you got Dylan, who's shredding and kind of serious, and I don't know. It's like there's something for everybody when it comes to High Lonesome.
for sure, yeah, I was listening to the album behind you there this morning, and I really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was perfect. Like I said, it's snowing. It's a dark gray snowy day here in Wisconsin, but the music was a perfect accompaniment, and I mean that in the best way.
Cool.
But yeah, so do you guys have other albums, other releases out there?
No, we don't. Just coming when I was in Atlanta, it was kind of like something I was doing while I was working in film, and so there was times where I was working for a couple months, 60, 70 hours a week, and I just wasn't able to really put any energy towards the band. And then when I came here, I decided this is what I'm going to do full time. We're going to go after this dream, whatever that is. But I mean, what we want to do is we do want to tour and play the kind of gigs that we're playing here on the Front Range all over the country. It's just we got some more work to do here as far as we need to put some more music out, and I think if we just keep on recording every year, putting a record out, I think sooner or later something's gonna stick. You know what I'm saying? It's just when you do this, there's days where you're like, am I wasting my time? Am I getting a return on all this time that I'm investing? And you just got to keep going. Keep going forward and keep motivating the band to get into the studio. I feel like I'm the Paul McCartney of the band.
I was just
Just
going to make that reference basically.
yeah, yeah. I'm just like, come on, we need to get in the studio and start recording some more tunes because that's interesting. It's like because this industry is a "what have you done for me lately" kind of vibe. And the more you put out, or not maybe the more you put out, but at least keeping it fresh and just keeping new music coming out. I think that's important. And there's some bands that you look at their business model and it's what it's all about, and it's definitely a part of their success. Like, how many albums does the Lizard Wizard band have? Like 30 albums out right now,
It's
and
an insane
everywhere
number.
it's insane. And everywhere you go, someone's wearing one of their shirts, and they're probably selling more records than anybody, and it's brilliant, you know?
Yeah, and part of it's not sure the music industry, but I mean, on a societal level and with the internet content creation, you got to keep churning out that content, and
Yeah.
especially for a band, that's tough. Like you want to be able to focus on your craft and play music and write music and record your music
Hmm.
instead of working on your damn YouTube page and Facebook and all this garbage.
Right.
It's a challenge. It's a constant struggle to keep up with that demand. And I know what you mean. It's not easy, and it does. There are some days where you're like just at your computer or whatever, thinking, "What in the hell am I doing?"
Yeah, I mean, think about how what I think about is how brilliant the Grateful Dead were when they were like, yeah, collect our shows on cassette tape, and then they got people out there in the audience writing the songs down. Not only are they hyped about the studio album that comes out, but people are hyped about your show. And then it got to the point where people were like nerding out so much on the shows where they're talking about the shows and analyzing the shows. I mean, so I feel like the more you put out there, if it's quality content, the better. And you're just stealing from the Grateful Dead and whoever they stole from. I don't know what maybe they stole from the acid tests or something like that. I don't know. Some promoter, you know, or Ken Kesey or something like that. But yeah, that's why I want to keep putting music on Spotify and all the things because I just want people to hear the music.
Yeah, and it is a double-edged sword in that, you were just discussing touring. Touring costs these days are astronomical. It's so difficult to get
Oh,
out and,
yeah,
maintain a road presence and introduce
right.
yourself to new fan bases. The internet's great for that, and you have to keep up and, work through the noise because there's so much content out there. Um,
You're
yeah,
rolling the dice,
yeah,
because like you could go somewhere and basically say to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to hope that enough people buy enough shirts and stuff that we can, um, you know, pay the band. And it's like normally those kind of proceeds would go towards studio or new merch or promotion. So it's really hard. Not to mention gas is so expensive now. Not to mention just getting the whole band in one vehicle with all of our gear. So yeah, it's always been tough traveling, but I think it is a little bit harder now. I've seen two banjos broken in the last like month on Facebook from traveling in Carlton cases. So it's like just traveling with your instruments on airplanes is also, sketchy. Because you ever looked out the window and seen how they're throwing the cases on the luggage?
most people
So
don't give a fuck.
right, that's right. And normally we're going to travel by airplane because it's probably cheaper for us to do that than unless we can put a tour together and get a vehicle together. But like I said, 2025, I think we're making a record, and we'll try to get out on the East Coast because that would be a lot of fun. But we're gonna do like a tour on the West Coast and just play a whole bunch more here in Colorado. Um, but yeah, we would love to play Blue Ox or Merle Fest or Gray Fox or Fresh Grass or Delfest. Um, and maybe someday we will, But what we're doing right now is we're having a lot of fun playing our music here in Colorado, and that's if that's what it is, that's what it is. I mean, it's still pretty good.
Hell yeah. And one step at a time, it's very rare for any band
Yeah,
to go from 0 to 100, the overnight thing, and even the ones that are quote unquote overnight, that's just like the perception of it. Most people don't
sure,
see at all the years and years of toil and struggle and late nights and, miles on the road and all the things. It's just like, yeah, we didn't hear of these guys, didn't hear of them, started to hear of them, and then boom, they're huge.
right.
Um, like Billy Strings is a perfect example because people think, oh, well, that happened so fast, and it kind of did, but
No, I
he's been
mean,
playing
he
since he
was
was
out
like
there
3.
for yeah. He's performing for like 8 years on the road, I think, before any of that stuff started popping off. And then like there's Lake Street Dive. I think they were out there on the road for 10 years playing to like 10 people in like small dive bars.
I saw you've got a couple shows it's booked out for 2025, including that E-Town gig.
Hmm.
Beyond that, you said you might be heading back into the studio.
Definitely getting back into the studio. Probably no later than February, but probably in January. We love Mighty Fine Productions in Denver. Colin and Lauren, really good engineers, great room, great affordable prices. This is the same place that the Dusters record and a lot of other bands. I think Dusters just recorded a record there. Um, so it's funny because I had some friends contact me from the East Coast, and they were like, "You've never made a bluegrass record. I can help you." And I'm like, "Oh, let me send you the track, a master track off of the record already." And they're like, "Oh, it sounds good. You don't need any help." I don't think so. Dylan, our dobro player, produced it as far as like making most of the decisions musically, and we trust him because he's such a musical person, and he is the musical director of the band. Um, because I don't know any music theory or anything like that, and when it comes to songwriting, I just like when I'm in a session, I just throw whatever at the wall, and if it sticks, I keep it, and then I just kind of just chisel the song down to the song. You know what I mean? Where I'm not like thinking about. Um, I don't really understand music theory or the circle of fifths or any of that crap. Like I couldn't tell you the notes on a guitar. So Dylan, who's a teacher at jazz,
All that
he's
garbage.
he's the guy that's telling everybody. So let's say we have like a new person that's sitting in with us. I might put him right next to Dylan on stage so Dylan can feed him all the information. Um, and then, like I said, we had I forget Colin's last name, but he's a genius, and he mastered our record. And then we had a really great engineer who is a great singer, so she really helped us with our singing. So I feel like it's a real good. Um, I'm sorry, the mixing engineer, Lauren Dorland and Colin Bricker. Yes. Colin Bricker mastered our record. He's the owner of Mighty Fine Productions, and then there's Lauren, who just did. I mean, she might as well be a producer on the album too. She did such a great job, and so we'll be working with them again. And we produced our own record. We are not working with a label. We're completely independent. We don't have a booking agent. We don't have a. Our manager is my wife, and she's been managing the band for 6 years, and I think she's one of the best band managers out there. She's also a professional photographer, and her pictures have been in Billboard. She's taken pictures of Del McCurry, and they're in Billboard magazine. She's been taking a lot of pictures for years of concert photography. So that's a good thing to have, and we're careful about. We know how to market our band. Like we have a show, we have a plan, and we try to sell it out. And we're thinking about the venue. We're thinking about all the people that work there. If we're playing somewhere where someone's very rarely we play in any bars, but we play here, Lions, Oscar Blues, and we want to pack it out because we want the bartenders to make money. We want the scene to thrive, And that's one thing we are here in Lyons, Colorado. It's amazing. We have a very small population, but on any given night in the summer on the weekend, there might be three venues, and every show is just packed. And there's like everybody in town is there, you know. Um, and I've got to say, David McIntyre, who is a DJ for KGNU, he's been really great because he gave us an opportunity to play for the Lions crowd here at Oscar Blues, and that's been a springboard for us because basically just playing as many live shows as we can, you know, viably play. Um, and so we've been putting in work, and we still have a lot more work to do here, you know. Um, but yeah, I'm just rambling, man.
No, that's good. That's good. And it's, the people that are willing to give you the opportunities, you have to,
Yes,
show the love for. And then
absolutely.
if you get people, on your team, your wife, I mean, that's fantastic. Support is the name of the game, whether it is family, friends, or anyone who's willing to do it. That's what it all comes down to. And I'm always certainly very appreciative. I'm appreciative for you sitting down with me too, because I'm out here trying to do a thing as well. My goal
Oh,
really is to,
anytime.
yeah, my goal is really to highlight local music scenes and try and bring them on a national scale. And that's one of the reasons I'm always trying to figure out what people have to say about their local scene, and if they've toured around, how they compare to other music scenes, the Midwest or even in the Midwest, Milwaukee versus the Twin Cities versus Chicago versus
Sure.
Denver, which is its own beast. But so yeah, I don't know. I'm very appreciative to anyone who's willing to do these kind of things. Sit down, hit that damn little like and subscribe button.
Hmm.
But it takes so much more work, I think, than most people realize, which is why even just going out to see music is such a big deal and means so much to not only, as you were saying, not only the band, but there's so many other people involved, whether it is the family, or a spouse, or the bartenders making any evening happen. Um,
Yes.
every
Yeah.
day in the industry it just involves so many people, and I hope people realize that and really show appreciation for it, um, because
Yeah.
it's what makes the world go around.
Yeah. And I would encourage, if you're in a band and you're playing shows, I would encourage you to look at it like that. Like there's a responsibility for you want to pack the place out. If you want to be if you commit to something where everybody's going to work and they're expecting people to come out, it's not just the venues. To expect the venue to bring a bunch of people out is just not a good strategy. The best strategy is talk about it on social media and put posters up. Do the thing that people have been doing in the scene for like 70 years. They've been putting posters up, and because those to get the people that are actually out and about walking around near the venue, okay? Not people that are on Facebook. I mean, when you do social media ads, it works to a certain extent, but I would really, I've noticed that since I've started hanging up posters all around Fort Collins, Boulder, Denver, even Colorado Springs, more people see it, and it really helps sell out the shows. And because, I mean, it's hard to do that also, like when you don't live near those places, right?
Exactly,
Like if,
exactly.
if I do a show in Atlanta, I'm going to really have to lean on social media and hope that we're interesting enough because we're so far we're from so far away. I feel like me personally as a music fan, like I want to see bands growing up. When I was younger, I wanted to see bands that I like. For example, I lived in Atlanta where I had a lot of access to some real hitting bands like Ike Stubblefield on the keys, Colonel Bruce Hampton from the Aquarium Rescue Unit. And so, like, if I could get back in a time machine, I would go to a lot of Colonel Bruce shows that I missed, but I took him for granted because he was a local. I like to see bands that are coming off the road they're a little bit more interesting because I can't see them. It's a supply and demand thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So hopefully we'll see when we go on the road. We'll see, if there's enough interest in us to um, sell tickets. It's just like it's kind of like you're rolling the dice. You never know.
Well,
But
and to bring it back to with what you were saying earlier about you know, doing some co-bills or opening up for some other bands, you know, touring out on the road, new markets is the best way to do that, of course.
Oh, that'd be
Um,
nice. Yeah.
you find just because once again I brought them up earlier, Armchair Boogie is one thing we talked about too. But you guys were able to hook up with them and do a couple of shows in Wisconsin, and I know they've already got quite a following and presence out in Colorado. But
Oh, yeah, they're
nonetheless,
huge.
that's kind of
Yeah.
how they did it. And any number of bands will do it. Just kind of, you're swapping shows, come to our market and we'll come to yours and show each other's crowd and fan base and that kind of thing. And from there, suddenly, you're in a couple states over, but you do have a name. You do have some
Oh, yeah. It would be a game
recognition.
changer. Game changer. If somebody was to say, "Hey, we're going to take you on a 12 city tour. We're going to go sell out all these theaters. I don't know, Leftover Salmon, Yonder Mountain, something like that." Yeah, that would be huge. It's definitely something that, you would be in front of more people than you've ever played in front of in your whole 5, 6 years that we've been playing. We play a lot in front of a lot of people. Um, but in this business, a lot of it is who do you know, who's your neighbor, who are you dating? It's not, and we're kind of new to the scene here. But that being said, we're playing E Town, which is awesome. This guy that's booking Ophelia's is really giving us a great opportunity. We're playing with Foggy Mountain Spaceship February the 7th. Hopefully we can sell out that room. That's almost 500 tickets. So like I want to do it where we're doing the thing or we're selling we're like, at least here in Colorado where we can get some really bigger gigs, and it is my dream someday to open up for like one of my heroes like Leftover Salmon or, I don't know. It's hard to say, somebody like that. That would be really cool.
Just
Because of
got to
course
keep on grinding.
yeah, because like seeing Salmon in 90, what was it? I think it was like 92 or 93. That changed my life. I mean, I can remember being there and thinking to myself, I would love to do that, for a living. And then also seeing other bands too. I mean, there wasn't a lot of, I was really hadn't been exposed to a lot of live music before I saw Leftover Salmon. You know what I'm saying? So anytime I saw a band, I was like, oh man, this is something that looks like I could do because I don't like to work. I'm kind of a lazy person. Other than music, I like to do music. I like to work at music.
For sure. Yeah, and it is a lot of work. There's no doubt about it. So hopefully you're up for the challenge.
Yeah.
Right on, man. I think that's about all I got. Um,
Cool.
like I said, we'll include some links down below. Make sure everyone can find you and all the socials and that kind of thing. But
Awesome.
Colorado crowd, if you don't know High Lonesome already, listen up, check out one of their shows.
Yeah.
And the new album, man, sounds great. It sounds really, really good. So I'll be excited to hear the next one too.
Awesome. Well, it was nice meeting you, brother.
Back at you. Talk soon.
All right.